The biggest win on election night is something that not nearly enough people are talking about. I brought this up the day after the election, but I wanted to talk about it more for you guys and show you this. Oregon voted yes to decriminalize drugs. That's all drugs, ladies and gentlemen. Small amounts of all drugs have been decriminalized in Oregon. Legalizing marijuana. So this is for recreational use. Arizona, Montana, New Jersey, and South Dakota all voted yes. Legalizing medical marijuana. Mississippi and South Dakota, they all voted yes. They all voted yes. Oregon, legalizing psilocybin, that's magic mushrooms. Yes, they voted yes. In D.C., deprioritize psilocybin. I think this legalizes it, or at least decriminalizes it in D.C. Yes, they voted yes. Drugs had a clean sweep on election night. I hate to say I told you so, but I told you so. When I made the argument, the reason why direct ballot initiatives are awesome is because, as a general rule, people pick the proper side, unless they're propagandized into doing the wrong thing. And that's happened a few times, just to be clear. There have been misleading, ad campaigns that have thrown people in the wrong direction on some of these direct ballot initiatives. But usually, as a general rule, people are pretty reasonable. And so they'll usually pick the thing that makes the most sense. Another example, in Florida, they voted to raise the minimum wage. They voted to raise the minimum wage, and it was over 60%. If I'm not mistaken, in Florida, you need over 60% to get a ballot initiative to pass. And raising the minimum wage got over 60%. This is at the same time that Donald Trump won the state and beat Biden in the state. But raising the minimum wage passed in a direct vote. When you give people the option, they usually pick the right thing. And this makes me feel like we need more direct democracy in this country. Worst case scenario, we need more direct ballot initiatives in all these states. I don't know how many states have direct ballot initiatives, but all of them should have direct ballot initiatives. That's point number one. Point number two is, I've said this 1,000 times, I really wish we had some sort of national direct ballot initiative, national direct democracy law, where, every time you vote, every 4 years when you go vote in a presidential election, you also get to vote on the top 3 or 5 issues that made it to the ballot. And then we'd be in a position where people would get to vote directly on, should we legalize marijuana? People would get to vote directly on, should we raise the minimum wage? People would get to vote directly on, should we end the war in Iraq and Afghanistan? And when you give people the option, guys, again, they almost always pick the right thing. I want to say 80 to 85% of the time, people pick the thing that in my opinion, is more reasonable and would do more good for more people. So I love this. I love this. I love this. My favorite thing every election night is looking at the results of the direct ballot initiatives, because it always brings a smile to my face. It's always like, oh, look, we won again. So, what does it tell you also? That we get the most positive change when you go directly to the people. What does that tell you? It's another way of demonstrating and showing how corrupt the politicians are. That whenever we rely on them, whenever we expect them to do good things, they never do it, or they very rarely do it. And the fact that Democrats eke out these victories when on the actual issues, the position that's supposed to be the Democratic position is so popular, and they just eke out these victories, it shows you how out of touch they all are. Out of touch, and they represent donors. They represent corporations and billionaires. They're not representing us. If the politicians were representing us, we'd already have a living wage. We already would have ended the wars. We already would have had an infrastructure deal or a Green New Deal. We already would have raised taxes on the rich and corporations. We would already be a thriving social democracy if the politicians represented what we want done. But whenever you give us the option and we get to vote directly on these things, we win. So... And in some ways, listen, I'll go even further. In some ways, this even surprises me because I know that the marijuana ones are very likely to pass, and I thought, yeah, they would pass. I wouldn't have guessed necessarily that the decriminalize all drugs one would pass. I was under the impression that my position goes a little further. I say legalize all drugs, but I didn't know that decriminalizing all drugs was something that already, in some instances, is over 50%, already has a majority support. I would have guessed that it's under 50% at this point in time. But at least in Oregon, people were like, no, you should decriminalize all drugs. So, lot to be happy about here. And it shows you that we should maybe use these direct ballot initiatives even more, and we should probably try to get something at the national level, at the federal level. And by the way, just so everybody understands, this is not... Because one of the objections to this is, yeah, but if you let people vote directly on everything, in theory, they could vote to take away somebody's rights, too. Like, if you let people vote on whether or not black people should be equal citizens to white people, if you let them vote on that in 1960, the population probably would have went the wrong way. See, this is a common, counter-argument to why direct democracy is not good. Here's the problem with that argument. Nobody's arguing we should eliminate the Constitution. Nobody's arguing, let's do direct democracy and also trash the entire Constitution. Nobody ever said that. I didn't say that. Nobody I know who wants direct democracy ever said that. So what that means is the American people should be able to vote on anything as long as it's not a right, as long as it's not constitutionally protected. So in other words, when you have a constitution, certain things are off the table. So you can't have the American people vote on whether or not we ban free speech. Because even if you have 70% of the American people say we don't want free speech anymore, the Constitution protects the right to freedom of speech. So direct democracy is for all the issues that are not already rights, that are not already concrete and set in stone, that are outside of the Constitution. Basically, every issue outside of the constitutional issues should be subject to direct voting, direct democracy. So, that's my take on it anyway. But listen, I love giving you guys good news, and this absolutely is good news. And it really does give me hope in some ways for the future, because even though you could argue the American people are not necessarily educated in terms of the history of things and facts, like, that's almost irrelevant to their political beliefs, because you don't need to know about the history of the United States or how to do math or science. You don't have to be educated in the traditional sense to know that, hey, let's pick things for our country that would be good for most of our country. You know what I mean? So in other words, there's just... The people are not masochistic. Like, they don't want to inflict harm on our other fellow Americans. So even if you're ignorant on historical stuff, you could still vote in a way that makes sense. And in that sense, I have faith in the American people, and perhaps more faith than a lot of people or most people. So anyway, this is great news, and I can't wait for more direct ballot initiatives.